That was fantastic. Thank you, Raquel. Our next speaker is Rebecca Wilson. Rebecca says fundraising isn't what I do, it's who I am. Rebecca cut her teeth in the charity sector 10 years ago as a community fundraiser and now leads the corporate partnership team at MenCap. Um, Quick little fun fact, she has been to clown school. Um, so Rebecca has been mentored by former IWITOT speaker Joshua Lee of Social Berlin. If you're there, Josh, hi, love you. And Rebecca is going to talk to us about Salvation Army That Dress, and I've been asked to give a little trigger warning. This campaign does reference domestic violence, but it's absolutely worth watching. It's an absolutely beautiful campaign. So over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you for the introduction there. I'm just going to share my screen, see if I can get away without any technical. Good, I'm there. So as you said, I've been in the charity sector for about 10 years now. And I think that this might be the biggest audience that I've spoken in front of. So I'm gutted that I don't get to see all your gorgeous faces or to go out for a drink with some of you afterwards. So please feel free to reach out and say hi. Let's go for a drink sometime, but I'd love to get to know some of you. At the moment, I work at MenCap and I manage the corporate partnerships team there. And we look to work with organisations that can help us achieve our vision to make the UK the best place in the world for people with learning disabilities to lead happy, healthy lives. I've also been extremely privileged to spend some time volunteering in Brazil's favelas, where I did a lot of work with children and women who were in vulnerable situations, and that has in many ways informed my inspiration for the campaign today. But less about me. I want us to cast our minds back to March 2015, when one question divided the world. What colour is the dress? So you should be able to see a poll appearing in the chat. Please, can you vote? I'm just going to have to close it down on my screen. Please vote. I'm going to reveal the results at the end of my talk, so hold tight. But what does a viral tweet from 6 years ago have to do with my presentation today? Well, it's got everything to do with it. Originally, the dress trended for 5 days and was covered by media outlets around the world. It just went mad. It broke the internet, as we all know. From the 5th of March, things started to calm down a little bit and taper off, but little did we know that the next morning the dress would make a comeback. So why is it so hard to see black and blue? 1 in 6 women are victims of abuse. Stop abuse against women. The Salvation Army in South Africa tweeted this image to launch their campaign and to raise awareness of Care Haven, which is a refuge for women and children who have been victims of domestic violence. When the team in South Africa came up with this, they hadn't anticipated that it was going to reach an international audience, and they ran with the campaign in isolation. Within a few minutes, the dress was viral again. And those of you who are eagle-eyed on Twitter will see that I've just retweeted the original tweet. So the Salvation Army across the world had to act fast. So I'm going to take you through some of the events of that first few hours. The original tweet was sent just after 10 o'clock. By midday, teams around the world had received interview requests from national and international media organisations. Shortly afterwards, an international news feature was drafted and approved by HQ. By 2:35, the image and campaign were published and distributed across 125 countries where the Salvation Army operates. The campaign was then picked up by BBC News and continued to snowball. By 4:30, spokespeople on 5 continents were being interviewed about the campaign. And by the end of the day, the Salvation Army and the dress were trending on Twitter in most English-speaking countries. Now, I would say that's not bad for a day's work, but as you can imagine, the activity continued throughout the night. So in the first 24 hours, the image had been retweeted more than 130,000 times. It'd been shared and liked on Facebook 1.2 million times. It had had the potential reach of 5.3 billion. Yes, that's 5.3 billion. It had been viewed in 179 countries, and they were talking about it on 7 continents, including Antarctica. That is how you know you have a good idea when they're talking about it on Antarctica. The Salvation Army also managed to get some additional coverage from the campaign by piggybacking on the back of International Women's Day. And we have just heard from Emma about how important it can be to leverage support. So what do I love about this campaign? Well, it's reactive. I think it is the definition of being agile. It is having your finger on the pulse and being aware of what's happening at the time and using that to increase your exposure. They were flexible, they took risks, and boy, did it pay off. But I think what I love most about this is they took something that was really fun and quite trivial and used it to highlight a really important issue. You know, it's current. If you think about lockdown and, you know, following any major football tournament, you know, that we always see a spike in victims of instances of domestic abuse. It's going to happen to 1 in 4 of us. You know, it can happen to any of us. And what I would say is that if you or anyone you know have been impacted by any of the talks today, but particularly this one, you know, reach out to your local Salvation Army who will be able to give you support. Ultimately, this isn't about whether a dress is black and blue or white and gold. It's about women and children knowing where to turn when they need help the most. But where is the fundraising, I hear you say? Well, here I want to give a shout out to David Giles at the Salvation Army UK, who has shared with me loads of information to make this possible. He also shared with me part of his master's thesis, which he discussed the campaign. So did the Salvation Army see a spike in donations? Yes, they did. How much of that spike can be attributed to the dress? The jury's out. However, as a corporate fundraiser, my role is to secure partnerships with organisations that can either help raise or save the charity money. And this whole campaign was made possible because of a pro bono partnership with Island Devonport, who are a design agency out in South Africa. They worked on this campaign for free. They donated their time, they donated their skills, they donated their expertise. And this wouldn't have happened without that partnership. And that is why I love it so much. So now the moment that you have all been waiting for. Now I need to try and find where the poll is, where the poll results are. Couldn't one of the presenters help me? There we go. The results are in. We have put this to bed once and for all. The dress is black and blue. But of course, we all know that really it's white and gold. Thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Well done to everyone who's presented. Goodbye.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca. That is just a fantastic, brilliant campaign, and
absolutely phenomenal. Like how it reached so many incredible people. Sorry. Also, it's black and blue, but well, yeah.
It is white and gold.
It's black and blue.